So, as you guys know, I recently flew to Tennessee to visit my parents for the first time in about 16 months because of the COVID pandemic. Boy, was I excited to see them. But I have to say that in addition to my excitement, I was nervous about the travel. I really didn't know what to expect, as I think many of us probably feel that way if you haven't traveled. I mean, before the pandemic, I was traveling at least a couple times a month via plane, sometimes more, it felt. And this was my first time on a plane in 16 months or so. I'm going to tell you about that experience, what it was like, and what really surprised me about it. By the way, guys, I'm Dr. Jen Caudle. I'm a practicing family physician. I'm an on-air health expert and a video creator. I do videos every single day on health topics, COVID, you name it. So, okay, let's just jump right in. First of all, you guys need to see what I saw when I got to the airport. I was completely shocked. I was so shocked at the number of people that were there. I want you to take a look at some of this footage that I took. I was really surprised. Honestly, when I tell you that this was one of the biggest things that surprised me, that would be this. So you probably know where I'm going with this. I mean, look, last time I traveled, it was normal, and then it was like normal times. We weren't in a pandemic. And then everything shut down, and I really have not been going a lot of places, let alone traveling. I think I unreasonably had this expectation that the airports would be kind of empty, kind of sparse. Boy, was I wrong. There were people everywhere. I was actually really, really, really surprised, really taken aback. This is the thing. I am fully vaccinated. I got the Moderna vaccine, got both doses, and I got it maybe a couple months ago. So I've been fully vaccinated for a while before I traveled. And I'm really, really glad that I did because especially after seeing all the people that I saw in the airport, we know that people who are vaccinated are far less likely to get COVID or to spread COVID. That's one of the things that made me feel better. But of course, I still wore my mask. In fact, I wore an N95 mask when I went. That was very, very important to me. I also really made sure that I kept my distance from other people. That is a CDC recommendation, but it was important for me too. But honestly, I have to say, like, it was almost kind of like there were times when I forgot about social distancing because there were so many people in the airport. It almost made me feel like it wasn't even during a pandemic in a way, even though everybody's wearing a mask. So I had to remind myself to like back up, Jen, stay away from other people. I made sure that I washed my hands a lot. I had hand sanitizer with me. And those things were certainly very, very important. If you are fully vaccinated, we know that you're able to travel. And in fact, the CDC recommends that you actually delay travel until you are fully vaccinated. So even despite being fully vaccinated and sort of having this sort of seal of approval and wearing my N95 and doing all this stuff, I still was really nervous. There were a ton of people, and honestly, on my flight, there were no empty seats. It was a packed flight. And in fact, I heard overhead on the intercom in the airport that many flights were like oversold. They were, giving away, not giving away seats, but, asking people if they wanted to switch planes for like a fee and this and that. It felt really like pre-COVID times, except for the fact that everybody was wearing a mask, but people were everywhere. So I would say this is something to really sort of emotionally be prepared for if you go to the airport. Look, I did just fine. I actually felt really comfortable. And I felt comfortable though because everybody was wearing a mask. I was wearing my mask, but I'd also been fully vaccinated. I think, and I know if I were not fully vaccinated, I would not have been as comfortable. I know I wouldn't have been as comfortable. And I know I still would have preferred that some seats would have been left empty on my plane. But, I know that lots of airlines are doing this, but many are not. So that's something you're going to have to deal with as well. The other thing that you should keep in mind based on travel is that, again, I keep pushing the vaccination because we know that vaccinations against COVID is one of the most important things we can do to get out of this pandemic. I am a fan of the COVID vaccine. I've been very clear about that. But something you should also keep in mind is that if you've been vaccinated against COVID, you don't need to quarantine before or after travel. You don't need to self-isolate or do any of that stuff. You just need to sort of monitor for symptoms and take action accordingly if you develop them. If you have not gotten vaccinated, however, the CDC recommends actually getting tested 1 to 3 days before you're traveling, and then get tested 3 to 5 days after you return, and then self-quarantine for 7 days. You need to self-quarantine for 10 days if you didn't get tested at all. So there are still some restrictions if you have not gotten vaccinated, guys. Getting vaccinated is very important. So, we'll see when I fly next. It wasn't a bad experience at all. In fact, it felt nice to be back in the air, back in the friendly skies, as they say. But it was different than what I expected. A lot more people than I thought. I brought my own snacks. I bought something to drink, but still just trying to be cautious of who I was around, washing my hands, trying to social distance. I would say if you guys travel as well, keep some of these tips in mind. But remember, you probably, well, if you're anything like me, you're probably going to feel a lot safer traveling if you are vaccinated, which I certainly did. Anyway, guys, I hope this is helpful. This is sort of my journal, my diary of my trip, and the things I found surprising, guys. I hope this was helpful for you. Guys, I'm Dr. Jen Caudle. Please subscribe to my channel and click the little bell if you have not already to get updates. I will see you soon.